Hashtag DC Public Banking. Hashtag DC Public Banking. Good evening.
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 How are we doing?
Good.
Is everyone fine?
Yes.
I don't know what world you living in. If everyone is fine. I am definitely irate. A bumper sticker says if you're not outraged, then you are not paying attention. All right, my name is Kimon Freeman, Angry Black Man in Therapy. Yeah, yes, indeed. Just had my medicine so everybody can relax. I'm here representing We Act Radio. Everybody say We.
We
Act. Radio.
Radio.
Do something. All right, we are the I guess the wayward child of WPFW because we're here to tell the truth and shame the devil. We are located in Anacostia. We are also partnering with WOOK, which is the first low-power FM station in this city, soon to be broadcasting on 103.1 FM. So please look out for that as we try to give them hell. Now, I'm honored to be here with such an esteemed panel. I'm glad that we finally have found the issue that we could use as a pressure point to make a system that's unresponsive to our demands of justice do just that, take our money back. We feel strongly that who we give our money to is who we give our power to, and it's about time that we begin to vote with our dollars and pray with our feet. DC government here actually does their banking with Wells Fargo. Everybody say boo. Boo. All right. And we're going to be leading a 1-2 punch here. What we're going to do is start with a divestment campaign to remove those dollars with DC Council legislation behind us. Once that goes through, then the 2-punch will hopefully be ready to hand it over to these wonderful people with the solution of creating a public bank. At the risk of sounding preaching to the choir, I heard someone say that the choir needs practice. So let me start by this. I'm an artist by trade, so this is a story I think speaks volumes to the issues at hand. A young couple are in their home, having dinner for the first time. The young wife is fixing pot roast for her husband. I think my dear Benjamin knows this story too well. I apologize for being repetitious. Oh yeah. I love my feminists. Yes. And so the wife asked the husband who was cooking the pot roast, he cuts off the tail of the pot roast for putting it in the oven. He said, well, why do you do that? Well, that's how it's done, silly. What do you mean that's how it's done? What, it make it cook faster, make it juicier? I mean, who taught you that? I don't know. My mother always did it that way. So they called their mom. Mom, why you cut the tail in the pot roast off? Mom said, I don't know. My mother always did it that way. So she called the grandmother. The grandmother's, Grandma, why you cut the tail in the pot roast off? And Grandma says, because I don't have a pot big enough for it to fit in, baby. That goes to say that for far too long that we have been doing the same thing over and over. We have not examined the root causes of our behavior. We have not analyze this system for what it is. We are doing it by sake of repetition, and it's always been done that way. And I submit that this is the generation, definitely the time, and perhaps the group of people to change that today. Can we give them a round of applause? All right, everyone knows who's here. Again, the hashtag is DC Public Banking. I hope that people will be utilizing that throughout the night because we are on a campaign to educate the public. And with the fact that 5 corporations control most of what we see here and read, our fight is on our hands to do just that. Now, I want to bring up Steve Sosa. Say it correctly?
Yes.
All right, another ball wonder right here. And let's all do something.
So my name is Steve Soiser. I'm with the DC Public Banking Center. We're the sponsors of the event tonight, and I want to thank everyone for coming out. We've had a busy day before us, already 2 meetings, one with sort of partners and allies, and another one at the City Council building with some important city agency partners, and got asked a lot of tough questions and gave some very good answers back with the help of some people in this room. So I want to thank everyone who participated in those meetings and who's here tonight. I'd like to talk just briefly about the DC Public Bank and what the basic concept is, so you'll have that in mind as the speakers start talking tonight. The basic concept is that a DC Public Bank could be established to be the depository institution for the DC government's accounts, various bank accounts. There's about 30 of them. Somewhere around $1.8 to $2.2 billion sitting in various bank accounts. Not doing very much of anything for the benefit of DC except holding the government's deposits. And we'd like to see some movement towards moving those accounts into a DC Public Bank that would also turn around and do some lending into our community. And we have identified 4 priorities that we'd like the DC Public Bank to emphasize, and those are business expansion, small and medium business lending, affordable housing, sustainability investments, and infrastructure. And we think this would do a lot towards creating some more jobs in DC, and could all be done through our existing community banks, credit unions, and smaller institutions that are called community development financial institutions. And they're really on the front line of lending in the city and around the country as the historic banking sector has collapsed, and there's hardly anything left. So the community development financial institutions are really doing the innovative lending. There are reasons that we'd like to see the public bank do this instead of Wall Street being the depository institution. A DC Public Bank would be accountable to the public. It would be wholly owned by DC government, no outside investors making decisions about the bank's lending, and no million-dollar bonuses to the top executives.
That's right.
No big fat salaries to the top execs. It's modeled after the Bank of North Dakota, I probably should have said earlier, which is a state bank that's been around for nearly 100 years. And it is a big, successful financial institution in North Dakota that has a whole range of successful lending programs, from small businesses to medium-sized businesses, agriculture, housing, infrastructure. A very nice set of programs that is really building the state's economy. As a result of the Bank of North Dakota lending through local lenders, the community banks, the banking sector in North Dakota looks like no place else we can find in the United States. It looks like DC's banking sector looked when I moved here 30 years ago, which was a lot of community banks, a lot of independent banks, and the big banks were sort of on the fringes. They were competing but not doing too well. And with consolidation of the banking industry, that's all changed. And there are literally, I would call them maybe 3 community banks and maybe 4 more that are more small regional banks that I would consider sort of in the realm of potential partners for the DC Public Bank. And when you look around the world, it's the same story. Public banking is in some countries the dominant institution that is providing banking services to ordinary people. And we'll have one of our presenters is from Germany, and we'll be talking about the 2/3 of Germany's banking sector that's actually public in some sense of the word. So there's a lot to be learned from other countries around the world, and I think it's time for places around the United States to step up and take on the challenge of establishing public banks. So thank you again for coming. I'll turn it over to Ruth Kaplan now.